I'm with a trend forecaster, a writer, a creative. I'm with an award-winning individual, art director here. I have Amy, but I don't think all these titles that I have just mentioned and the stuff that you do will do you justice. So I think rather introduce yourself to our audience.
I think when I initially came here and looked at the questions, I decided that I was going to describe myself with 3 words. So my first word is eclectic, because I'm always doing something weird. My second is being transformative, because I'm always changing. And my third is definitely everywhere, because for some reason I've decided that I'm going to do every single side quest that comes to mind. And I think that's the philosophy that I kind of live my life by, is just always trying something. And if you're not necessarily good at it, you can always go to something else. And in my daytime, I'm an art director. But by night, I am an illustrator. I go by the name Season of the Witch. I'm also a writer for the Cape Creative Collective. I do a lot of culinary and topical journalism. And I'm also a photographer. So I'm a nature photographer in specifics. And I've also done some jury duty as well for the Bookmark Awards last year. I was a learner juror for the marketing craft category. I'm also part of the IAB Youth Action Council as a shadow member. I'm a 6-time Pindoring finalist, a 2-time Silver Pindoring winner, as well as a 1-time Lurie finalist, and also the sole African student finalist for the 2023 Sony World Photography Awards. So I've had the privilege of having my work in some cool galleries in London and Milan. I've had some of my work also featured in the Dieline and also Packaging of the World and the World Brand Design Society. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of side quests.
That's quite a lot. I think, that's a lot. But it's a good thing, because I think for someone in the creative space and to branch out and zone out into different spaces, that's a cool thing to do. But where do you find the time though?
My hobby is my job and my job is my hobby. I think that's the one thing that I can say, I sum it up, is that being creative is something that I've always been doing. And it's just something I can't live my life without. So I guess the time is, my job is something that it makes me happy. It's the thing that relaxes me. And it's also the thing that makes me stress. So yeah.
I bet now from all of this and the description that you just gave us now, it would be interesting for us to delve onto who's Amy. Was she from your formative years as an individual? Who are you affiliated with?
I'm from the small town of Port Elizabeth, or Kwebeja. I can't pronounce that properly. I apologize to everybody. I started my design career when I was 15 years old. So it's now going on my 8th year of this. And I would say I fell into it, because when I was in high school, I was like, I'm going to become a chef, and I was going to do that. And then I was like, I'm going to become a fashion designer. And then, one day I got my aptitude test back in grade 9 for like subject choices. And they were like, you'd be good at design. And I was like, design, like, I'm not really sure about that. I don't know anything about this. Like, I'm more into art. I like sketching and drawing eyes, as young girls do at that age. And I just remember thinking to myself, okay, let's give it a try and see. And my career started off with a bang, because I was the worst in the class. And it was hilarious. From term 1 all the way to the start of term 2, I was the worst, and it disheartened me. I can truly say that my career started with a humbling experience. And I remember a turning point of my design career was when I was sitting in design class. We were learning how to paint, and my water pot fell onto my work, and everybody just collectively froze. And I was like, either I'm going to cry in this classroom or I'm going to laugh. And I was like, I'm going to do neither of those things, and I'm just going to have to work hard and see where I can get with this. Since I'm so bad, what if I just try and see how far I can get? And I worked every single day from that moment, and I ended off the year being ranked first in my grade, and that continued on in my high school career. And eventually, when I was in matric, I got the trophy for design. So I was like, the transition. So clearly
this part was like, it was cut for you. Would you say that?
Yeah. I've always been doing something creative. Throughout my childhood, I did dance. I did music throughout my high school and primary school career. I was always sketching. I always knew I was going to do something creative. I just didn't know where. So I guess I'm still on that journey. I still don't know where.
Would you then say that maybe is influenced by maybe say your background, family background? Do you have someone who did creative stuff?
Ironically enough, both my parents are not in creative at all. My mom is in finance and my dad is in renewable energy, and it's completely different to what I, wanted to do. But they always supported what I loved, because they also loved art. And I remember, my mother loved sewing, and my dad loves mosaic. So I guess like for people that weren't really into creative stuff, they were always, willing to do those things. And yeah, I think the only designer in my family. A lot of my cousins and my relatives have taken on linear paths, like being a doctor or being in accountancy. But I think I've also got only child syndrome, because my parents were just willing to go along with any weird thing that I had. So yeah, I will say that it was a difference, but they always try to make it work for me.
I think that's incredible if you have parents who are always supporting your career path, irrespective of how profitable it might be in terms of like salary wise and all of that, and just making money out of it. Because of you wear so many hats, and I think you've worked with a number of institutions, including maybe the agency side and academics. So who are you affiliated with at this moment?
So right now, I have the pleasure of being part of Publicis Machine. So Machine is a beautiful agency that is part of the Publicis Group, which is a French conglomerate that basically has a bunch of advertising and communications agencies in the world. And I honestly can say that, Machine is an agency that I'm really proud to be of, and they have such a bold and interesting way of going about things. And as far as academic affiliations, I just completed my honors in fashion at Fadisa Fashion School, and it was so proud moment for me to represent them, at the Pendurings last year. We managed to get 4 finalists, and it was lovely going on that stage and winning that for them. They were a fantastic school, and I would say as far as affiliations, I'm proud of my agency, and I'm always proud of the schools and where I come from. And that's something that I always remember, is that you need to be proud of where you come from, and always remember your roots.
Oh, that's awesome. Amy, I wanted to ask you, because this is a bit different for us as marketers. I don't know if it might be the same with you guys, but I presume it might be, because we're in the same industry. As marketers, we are often faced with a lot of challenges, like upskilling ourselves, keeping up with the trends, and just also like not living up to the status quo and challenging the status quo, basically. How do you guys make sure that you stay relevant as creatives in your field?
So I think I'll put on my trend forecaster hat just for a second and say that one of the things that I would like every single person to know that's listening here is that the future is closer than you think. And when I was doing my dissertation last year, I realized that when you look back at, what we thought was going to be far away, it's actually not as far as we expected. For example, ChatGPT. Who could have thought that this was going to be something that we would experience so early into this millennia? And I think that's something that, as human beings, we have to understand, is that the craziest trends that you are often, side-eyeing are the trends that could most likely happen. I think as far as staying relevant, it's to always keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on. And when I say that, I don't just mean social media, because oftentimes we're like, oh no, we're up to date, we're on trend, we know the latest like TikTok lingo, we know what's going on social media, we know the best campaigns that are winning right now at the luries, but we're looking at an algorithm that is based on our own personal preferences, and we aren't looking at something from a state of neutrality. I'm not asking you to, read a McKinsey report, because those things can be kind of tedious sometimes, especially for those that aren't really in the trend space. But I do 100% ask that you inspect further than just, your social media feed, because it is biased. And there are some things you might be missing. And I think the best insights that I've seen have come from people that are looking outside of their own perspective. And sometimes it's as easy as not using digital and, going back to books or going back around your community. Observation is one of the best things you can do for yourself if you are feeling stuck in a creative rut. So I would definitely say to be relevant and to be up to date is to be aware of your surroundings in the world and kind of just move through it intentionally.
Yeah, still sticking with the trends and the disruptions that are experienced by the AI tools, for instance, because they're shifting the way things are done now in the marketing space and brand communication space. Sorry about that. I just wanted to find out from you, because I know that this is a talk for everyone, where they say that AI tools are compromising the creative output. Are we really, really trusting these tools? At the same time, making sure that we service our clients in a manner that is best as possible. Are we really, really creating output work that is legitimate enough to say that AI tools, they actually work as part of the future?
Whenever we start with a new technology or tool, it's always jarring, it's always scary, it's always shocking. It was the same way people felt about the internet and the same way that they felt about Y2K. I wasn't born back then, but one thing I can know from historical, I'm giving away my age. One thing I can know from historical articles is that a lot of people were very scared for Y2K. Like they were thinking that the world was going to essentially, the electronics were just going to explode as soon as the clocks, strike 12, and then nothing happened. The date changed. And I think that's kind of the analogy that I use with AI, because it's a tool. And, whenever people phrase it as the AI tools, I'm like, think about what you're saying.
It's an AI
tool. And I think it can only go as far as we take it. And it's not an overlord per se in any way, because I think with creativity, obviously, we've seen these AI commercials. They are both grotesque and very impressive, considering the fact that they can come up with such amazing things. But I like to use the analogy, especially when it comes to these emerging technologies, of the knife. Some people are going to take the knife and chop up some vegetables, and other people will take a knife and use it for nefarious activities. And at the end of the day, there also is a responsibility of the user. And what are you doing with that technology, and what's your intentional purpose behind it? So I always say, we can only blame technology and innovation so much, but at the end of the day, we do have to take accountability, because we were the ones that created that. So only we can, take it as far as we think. So I would definitely say with AI, yeah, I'm not scared. I think it can be brilliant. I think it can help, especially with smaller tasks and streamlining, especially in studio. It can act as a second brain. It can help you bounce back on ideas. It's not asking you to create an idea. It's taking what you already have and trying to make sense of it for you, or to help you be less misunderstood with your peers.
So would you say that agencies in South Africa, are they innovating enough in that space that they are able to collaborate with these AI tools?
I think right now we're in infancy phase, so we are just touching the surface of what AI can do for us as South Africans. So, you look at Asia, you look at the Americas, you look at Europe, the budget is much bigger. They've got more scope and more access to these tools. So I think it's also important to know that as South Africans, we kind of have the bit of the ripple effect. So we're only going to feel the after effects a little bit later than everybody else. And I think we are quite innovative. Even without the AI, our minds were already in the right place. So I think that there's definitely a potential for the AI to be used properly. But obviously there's always going to be an emergence of, terrible AI art, terrible AI adverts that we, have the pleasure of seeing. And at the end of the day, I think that agencies have been innovating, and I think that they'll continue to take it in their stride. So I think we have a good future going ahead of us.
I think it's so fascinating, Amy, because we had an institution in higher learning where they encourage students to actually work with the AI tools. And one of that was a soft drink company. So I won't mention their name, but then they produce a stellar campaign. So clearly it means that the AI industry, or rather the technology that is brought by AI, it's being adapted to not only just in the industry, but also in institution of higher learning. So I want to ask you this: how do we better prepare even the students at the higher learning institutions to be so forward thinking in terms of AI and the disruptions that are brought by AI in the industry?
The first thing is to not demonize it, because one thing that I've noticed with institutions in general is just kind of having this notion of AI really bad. Do not use AI. And it's kind of from that thing of, don't use AI for your essays, don't use AI for your academic projects. But the thing is, because of that demonization, we are seeing a surge of students, being like, oh, no, I can't use AI because the school's not going to allow it. And I think there's such a difference between, once again, using it as a tool and then using it to do it as your own work. So I think, just being cognizant, teaching students, showing students, hey, this is DALL-E, this is Sandbox, this is Firefly, and kind of getting them used to those tools, giving them tutorials like you would do for the Adobe suite, but then also keeping that cognizance of the fact that you need to use this responsibly. And not to bring up the knife analogy again, but it's about the person that's using it, and not necessarily about the tool at that time. So I definitely think that AI has a space with institutions, because young minds are unfiltered, and at the best of times they can come up with the best insights or ideas that are maybe, kind of washed out from years in industry. So I think it's always important to encourage, especially in the animation and digital space, there's some beautiful things that can come out of there, playing away from static images and going into motion is something I can't wait to see coming in the future.
And besides, we've been using AI tools all these years. It's just that we were not aware. But it's been a collaborative tool all these years. This is a stance that we've also adopted at the Academy. We have decided to implement a policy that says that we are transparent enough and we allow students to also exercise their prerogative in terms of using the tool itself, but we just need transparency. And the reason why we're riding with that wave, because we already know that in the industry, people are already using that. In as much as it might be a subject of contention, like you said, it shouldn't be demonized, but we should see it as something that is a collaborator, a complementer. But now moving along from that, Amy, how do you make sure that as an individual yourself, you stay ahead of the game?
I'm always doing something. And when I say that, I mean, I'm always looking for some form of inspiration. If I'm not scrolling on Pinterest, I'm looking at new books, new ideas. I love history, and history has influenced a lot of designs or stories that I've done. And I think it's so important to constantly find a way to romanticize your life. I know that's like such a cliche thing to say, but it's so important to be able to continuously be in the art of finding something beautiful. Ways that I stay ahead of the curve is also by resting. One of the main things that I like to practice is that when the clock strikes for me to leave, I close my laptop and my life exists outside of that laptop. That's from that moment onwards. Because I know a lot of people say, in the industry, you got to work overtime, you got to prepare. But once you make that a routine, it becomes less about hard work and more about neglect. And one thing that I've applied to my life, especially now, is, after years of overworking in high school and university, I realized that it's not about how much hours you work. It's about how you optimize the hours that you've been given. So I always encourage younger people to not necessarily think about how hard they can push themselves as far as hours and, let's pull this all-nighter. Let's do this for 2 days. It's not a badge of honor. It's a badge of showing that you're not taking care of yourself. And how can you be productive? And how can you come up with beautiful ideas if you're not taking care of yourself?
Often at times we exact pressure upon ourselves whether we are going through a creative block. And creatives, I know this, that it's a major obsession for them to say that I can't be going through a mental block or creative block. How do you then deal with that phase if you are experiencing a creative block on your end, whether it's from the agency side or whether you're working with briefs, whatever that it is that you're doing at that moment? How do you handle the creative block in that space?
I think one thing I can confidently say is I haven't had a creative block, but I felt severe burnout that has made me feel like I cannot work or continue on with something. And the one thing that I always do every day, apologies, is go to the beach. I go into nature. That was one of the things that started my nature photography career, but also it was something that my family devised during COVID because we were all sitting around with our laptops. We were going crazy and we were like, we need a break. We actually need a break from this house. So we used to go to the beach and just sit in the car. Obviously at that time we couldn't go to the beach. You couldn't go and sit on the beach. But that ritual during COVID became a daily practice of just mental health in my family's life, and to this day I still do it. And that's one thing that I will say will constantly keep you inspired. Another thing as well, especially when dealing with surge ideas, which is what I would call ideas you get randomly at the moment, is to always carry a small notebook. In my handbag right now I have a small sketchbook, and whenever I have an idea, it's somehow...
So you carry that with you everywhere you go?
Everywhere. If I don't have my fountain pen and if I don't have a sketchbook, I don't feel like I can go out the house.
Okay, we're taking notes now.
I will leave my phone at home, but I will not leave that notebook because sometimes I will have the weirdest ideas and I will like run out and I'll be like, I need to do this, or when I'm cooking or something, and you come up with these really cool ideas just by living life. And I think that's also another thing to do with creative block, is just kind of to live your life and go about it.
I know for myself what I normally do when I'm going through that creative block. Walking does it for me. So that's what I normally do all the time.
It does help.
It does
really
it.
Helps.
It does it. So, Amy, I want to know the projects that you are currently working on, or the ones that you're going to work towards this year or the next coming years.
Okay, so normally I like to keep these things secret because I'm one of those people that I change my plans all the time.
Share with us.
But you may or may not see me at Comic-Con this year. That may be a promise. That may not be a promise. I may be starting a podcast of my own. So if you
dope.
If you like trends, if you like fashion, if you like pop culture, if you like anything to do with design, marketing, it will be coming out soon. Still playing around with the name, but when you see it, you'll see it. And then I might be writing a book.
All of this is happening this year or in the next coming years.
I mean, we could make it this year.
Hey.
I think it could happen. Yeah. I've been known to pull tricks like this last minute.
Seeing that you wear so many hats, I think it's quite possible from your end to pull it through.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Amy, for a young aspiring creative, what do you have as an advice for them? What should they do to sell themselves, to have the online presence, and to be out there and say, "Hey, this is me"?
The first moment of advice that I would give, and this is something that from the beginning already, because I did have challenges in the beginning of my career, with peers, and I will be honest about it, is just don't listen to anybody. And I know that's like very controversial advice to give to a young creative, but when I mean that, it's that you need to understand that your life is yours, and if you want to reach high, nobody else can tell you that your dreams are unrealistic. So it's so important to always just keep on going. Don't listen. Just go. Just do it. Words are something, but actions are everything. And I genuinely believe that through action, you can truly build yourself a career that is worth looking back at. And one thing to always internalize is, if you could look back at your 13-year-old self, would they be proud of you, or would they kind of be like, oh, I don't know who that is? So, I think for young people, just keep on practicing and don't be afraid to change. Because, honestly, when I started my career, I was like, yes, I'm going to be an illustrator forever. I'm never going to do anything. And then I got to high school, grade 12, and I was like, I'm going to be an art director. I love art direction. And I got to first year of university and I ended, and I was like, I hate art direction. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I was like, graphic design. I love graphic design. I love packaging. And then, I went for my workplace learning internship, and I was like, I love art direction. I love industry art direction. This is not like school. It's so much fun. And I still incorporate packaging. Remember, you can always take those pieces of yourself that you did, like before, and incorporate them. It might not be your main thing, but it will still be there.
Amy, do you see yourself in the next 5 years, either in South Africa or anywhere else in the world?
My dream in life, if I'm being honest, and I've been getting more clear on my dream these days, because I was asked this last week and I was like, damn, man, I really have to think about this. But if I had my dream wish of what my dream job would be, it would be just to travel the world and help businesses achieve their dreams. And I'm a traveler. I'm somebody that I love traveling and I love being on the go. And I can't imagine myself being somebody that doesn't, have a purpose. And I think, I just want to help people. I want to travel the world. And I obviously Cape Town will always have my heart. It will always be home for me. And South Africa will always be home for me. I will always be proud of where I come from. But I feel that in the next few years, I can't tell you where I'm going to be because,
the future is uncertain.
And I have a question.
Yep.
So you've mentioned quite a few things that you have done and have always been doing, and also your future plans as well. So I'm just curious to know, what motivates you to keep going? What is the thing that gets you up every day?
I am what you would call somebody that is delusionally optimistic, and I've been like that since I was younger. Is my parents would be like, you know what, it's fine, you can be upset about it, and it's like, no, but there must be something better. And I think the one thing that makes me keep on going is realizing that I love what I do. I wake up in the morning and I really, really love what I do. And I think that's the one thing that I would also give as advice is if you're going to your job and being like, ugh, why do I have to go there? You're in the wrong career and you need to change. And just embracing change and understanding that you're not going to be the same person that you were. Like I love this quote of, you're not going to be the same person you were 5 years ago, 5 months ago, 5 weeks ago, 5 seconds ago. And you constantly are transforming. So I think it's just leaning into change and just kind of embracing the fact that, you know, you're going to change your mind. And one day you hate tomatoes and the next day you're like, wait, these kind of taste okay. Like they're fine. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just understanding that life is, it's a beautiful thing. I used to battle a bit with, you know, depression when I was younger. And then one day I just woke up and I was like, wait, no, but life, there's so much good things about it. I need to just hold on to that feeling. And I think design really helped me with that, is just that feeling of, you know, I feel free, even though I'm doing work, even though I'm, you know, doing something that people necessarily don't associate with freedom. And it's just about waking up every single day and doing the things you love. Because if you're not going to do them now, you're probably never going to do them, because later doesn't really exist in the context of time.
Yeah.
At the best of times.
Yeah, no, I think it's also important to know that like doing things that you love and getting excited about things is very important, but also knowing that you can change at any age or any day or any time. There's no limitation to when that can happen. And I love that you've also achieved so many things and you still got a long way to go. So I'm excited to see what you do in the future as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think there's been points where, you know, you're at your lowest, but the one thing that I'm always like, no matter how bad this gets, it's gonna get better. Because if it was down here, it has to go up. And I think it's always about understanding that like your career is always going up. It's just up to you to decide that. Yeah, your mind is a very powerful thing. So it's really up to you to use that tool. And yeah, thank you so much.
So I just had a question about AI and the use of AI. So since you also talked about AI and how we should be engaging with it, but I also wanted to know, do you use AI and how have you used AI in your work?
I'm going to be honest and just say this right now. It's not in the interesting ways that you think it's being used. I use AI for things that are, at some points I'm literally sitting here and I'm like, Amy, do you really have to be doing this? I think AI is brilliant for streamlining and organizing stuff, because as somebody that has a lot of things to do and sometimes does not use her diary, it is amazing to just plug in your tasks and kind of get it to actually sort it out. I've used AI to help me with innovating new patterns, especially when I make clothing and I have to draft up a new pattern. I've used AI. I think the new feature where you can add in like images is brilliant. So I use it for a lot of mundane stuff. I'm using it for a lot of mundane stuff. Sometimes I use it like, you know, when you have a bunch of trends and you're doing like a trend report or summarizing, you know, you kind of take the data and you're like, okay, can you please summarize that for me? So it's nothing exciting, but I think it's also really cool. And I love the idea of also, you know, having that thing of you can act as a, you know, a nutritionist and you can come up with this plan, or, you know, prompting the AI to have really cool things and utilizing it. For me, it's mostly productivity, definitely. Productivity, and definitely a space where I can use it to kind of bounce off ideas and also ask if I'm putting the right thing in the oven. So yeah, that's definitely it for me.
Okay, cool.
Amy, thank you so much. But before we leave, where do we find you? Where can we follow you?
Okay, I've got a few platforms. My favorite being LinkedIn. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, LinkedIn guys. When I tell you that platform, my father, the famous LinkedIn influencer himself, said to me one day, "My child, when you start your career, you need to get into LinkedIn. This thing is gonna become big." And he was no trend forecaster, but he was correct. So yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Amy Gajjar. My surname is Gajjar. You can find me on Adored by Amy if you want to see my photography work. On Instagram, Season of the Witch, on my illustration work, which is SZNOFTHEWVTCH on Instagram. I've got like too many Instagram accounts. And yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Girl of the Future. That might be the name of my podcast. Who knows? Yeah, so that's me. I'm mostly on Instagram. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. Sometimes Behance under my same name. So yeah, there's some big things coming. Really, really cool stuff. And yeah,
Amy,
thank you.
Thank you so much. And I don't know if there's another question that we might have for Amy.
Yeah, I guess I have one more question, which has to do with what you were talking about earlier about trends. I just wanted to know, are there any trends that you are excited about personally that you kind of are forecasting?
Ooh, I love this. Okay, first of all, now I've got a whole tangent that I can go on, but I'm not going to go on that tangent. So it's basically the death of minimalism. Okay, now I love maximalism, but this is more so in the culinary space, is we're kind of seeing a shift away from restaurants being minimalist and kind of having like a, very blunt and soulless personality. And we're going towards more themed and maximalist restaurants. Now, obviously, once again, I wasn't alive for this period of time, but in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of themed restaurants. And I will always be mad that those restaurants died. But now to see that more conceptual and story-based brands and restaurants are coming, I am thrilled. I'm very obsessed with branding and packaging, and I love when there's a good story behind design. So it's beautiful to see, especially in the design space, that we're moving towards concept and story again, because we lost that for a while. And people were too afraid. Everybody wanted to tell a story through an advert, but not everybody's going to look at an advert. So yeah, I would say that's definitely a trend. I would say also just music. In the music industry, it's beautiful to see actual fully fleshed out branding, seeing people actually become personal brands. And that's something I also feel quite strongly about, is just personal brand. But yeah, I'm always excited for a trend because some of them are really, really strange. So it's always up to interpretation. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a beautiful question.
I really like that question.
I think from my end, that's it. Thank you for watching the podcast. Catch us next time.
Thank you for having me, y'all.
Awesome.